The next one is on tap that ad, engaging mobile campaigns that get consumers' hands on brands with the point roll people. You know, we can all get frustrated about how intrusive social networking is in our lives and you know, get on and off of Facebook. Well, there's one place that if you're in business, you can't leave alone, and that's LinkedIn. Our next speaker is Brian Church. He's currently the country manager for Canada at LinkedIn. He spent the last 13 years working the world's largest technology firms. As a country manager, Brian leads Canadian operations for the world's largest online professional network and is responsible for increasing its awareness, adoption, and advocacy. Prior to LinkedIn, Brian managed enterprise sales for Google, where he focused on the development, awareness, and expansion of the Google Apps for Business platform. Very proud to have him with us. Please welcome Brian Church. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Bring a link.
Yeah, thanks. There's a controller up here?
There is a controller right there, and when the red light starts going...
That means get off. Run! Save yourself. Hello, everyone. We have a good room today. Everybody energized, or do you have great lunch and you're now tired, and I gotta get you energized again. Hard to see, but this is gonna be the loaded question. How many people in the room have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, you back there no, I'm just... how many people actually used it today to look me up before you came here? Couple? No, so thank you. Appreciate that. So I want to chat with you a little bit about some of the things LinkedIn are doing, and I love starting with this. Has anybody seen this amoeba or before? This is my network. So anybody can go on LinkedIn and see what their network is, and it's color-coded by different areas. Green is LinkedIn, blue is SAP, I believe, Google's up at the top, and then Oracle down at the bottom. And it's how they connect to each other. And it's a fascinating thing to watch, and this is really the underpinning of a lot of what we'll do, and a lot of what we do to help you guys be successful, is connecting your ideas and your advertising and your brand to people across the network. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that today in a couple different areas. Anybody realize this? My friends at Google, 52 billion pages they've indexed. And I think we all know there's so much happening on the internet, but I was blown away by the staggering number of that. If you think it's like 12x the number of people that are on the planet. So pretty crazy number when you think about it. And it's causing a whole bunch of information overload. So the challenge for a lot of people in this room is, how do you cut through that clutter? How do you actually get to the people? And I think it was James that was mentioning about advertising. How do you make it relevant to people? And I touch on that a little bit today. And the other one that blew me away was Wikipedia. Anybody have any clue? 13,000 articles in there right now, or 13 million articles in there right now. By the time I'm done this talk, they're going to have another 100. So pretty amazing, the change and the impact that this is having in the world. And what are some of the things that it's actually doing? It's actually driving people to social networking. Because if you think about this mass amount of information, how do you differentiate between what is right, what is wrong, what's valid, what's invalid, what's relevant, what's irrelevant? And we're seeing a mass uptake in social media because by nature, people are social animals, right? So, and they look to their friends, their colleagues, their peer group, to help them figure out different pieces of data when they're buying. So it's really actually turned a lot on its head for people buying things. And in this context, in this area, what is very important because of the proliferation that's happening is context matters. So as in what you're used to every day, this holds true here, is if you're doing something with LinkedIn compared to Facebook, compared to Twitter, whatever it may be, think about the message that you're doing there, and also the people that are on there and how they're engaging. So I want to expose you to a little bit about what LinkedIn's doing, because The interesting part is there's a lot happening on LinkedIn, and it's not always top of mind for marketing individuals to leverage this channel. It has a major impact on professionals and something you should think about in your portfolio when you're trying to get a message out there. Just to level set, our mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. So when people are coming to LinkedIn, it's not just about hiring. I bet you a lot of people think about their job, resume, whatever it may be. It's not just about that. It's not also, there are a lot of people are doing things like finding business contacts and so forth, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But the one thing I wanted to share with you, because not everybody's aware of some of the numbers that LinkedIn has. So 150 million professionals across the world. Staggering numbers, grown. When I first came to Canada for LinkedIn about a year and a half ago, in Canada specifically, we had just over 2.5 million members. Today, we have over 5 million. So doubled in a matter of a year and a half. Lots of engagement, lots of people joining. And that Canada, actually, the cool part about Canada is it has one of the highest penetrations of professionals of any market in the world. So if you think about it, there's 4 other countries that are actually ahead of us in pure numbers, and there are small countries like India and the UK and the US, and Brazil just passed us recently in numbers. But if you think about Brazil, even them just passing us, Sao Paulo has more people in their city than we have in the whole country. So the penetration and the use of LinkedIn within Canada is pretty amazing, and in a lot of different areas, not only in high-level professionals, but you see it across the board. 3.5 million, over 3.5 million CXOs across the platform, with 7 million directors, so you can start to see people that are in this. 27 million decision makers, right? Probably something, and highly engaged on this. 10 million SMBs, so it's not all big companies, small companies as well, playing across the profile. And then 14 million owners and VPs. So a pretty amazing group that you can think about that's very affluent, very influential, and as you can see, decision makers, people that take action on your messages. So what are they doing on there? They're managing their personal identity. So think about this in terms of how you're going to reach out to them. They're thinking about how do they manage their brand. So when you're connecting with your brand, what are they doing? And for yourselves as individuals, this is a spot you can manage your own brand. So if you have a more unique name than John Smith, and you have a strong profile, usually comes in the top 3 of Google's search when you look for your name. So when people are looking to find out information about you through Google or whatever other sources, this is an area you can carve out for yourself. Building business relationships, I showed you that wonderful graph. People are doing that. This is where it starts getting interesting. Sharing advice and finding answers. So when people are looking to make a purchase or find out something about potentially your brand, they're actually searching on there, but also looking for the answers, that connection I was talking about at a social level rather than specifically at just a pure search with the information abundance. And they're looking up a lot about companies. So a brand is usually connected to a company, most of the times. People want to know what's behind that and what that company is. So understanding and guiding your clients on what they should be doing, they need to think about how do they manage their brand as well from a company standpoint. So I've broken it down into kind of 3 areas to think about on the LinkedIn platform that I think are most relevant in a framework. And that's reputation. That's really about your brand. Relevance, and I can't remember who said it up here, but relevance, I think it was James. How do you be relevant and how do you do it? And then relationships. This is very important, not only from an individual level, but also from your brand level. So I love this line because I think it's so true. And kids don't care anymore, I think, about what's out there. They let whatever happens, happens. But when you're talking about a brand or your own reputation, it's important to know that within that 52 billion pages and all the things that are happening out there, it is keeping information about you, about your brand, about everything. I'm sure we've got that. We don't have a Twitter feed going here, but people talking about everything at all times. So how do you manage that? But also, how do you listen to it? So what are some of the things you can do? Talked about the company page. So company page is an underpinning for a lot of things companies should be thinking about today. This is, when people search, a place that they go to from a professional standpoint. So a lot of, we build these for anybody that we have a company name for, but we pull in data that comes from an aggregation of different sources across the internet. You can control this by logging in and change it. We actually want you to control it and change it. There's a free component and obviously a paid component if you want to make it fancier. But this is an area that you should think about in controlling that reputation of the brand and also of the company. And you can see people start getting recommendations and connection. I'll show you one of the brands that has recently done stuff with us, and that's Johnny Walker. So they took control of this and had a tremendous uptick on approach because their target audience fits with us tremendously well. Right? So professionals, decision makers, influential people, and they've done some wonderful pictures on their company page and throughout the platform to take advantage of this. The other area to think about that's out there already is connecting with professional communities. So on LinkedIn, part of what I was saying, people are going there to connect with others and learn and share. They're doing this through groups and meeting together and having conversations about it. A fabulous way for you guys to do that is now participate in that. Not in the way of selling, because this is where some people make a misstep, if you will. When they go onto these groups, they start trying to sell. I think you should think about it more in how do you engage? How do you listen so you get information? But also, how do you engage? How do you participate and add value to that around your brand? It's not just about trying to sell Johnny Walker. It's about what can you do and your brand be connected to some of the thoughts that are in there. So when we think about relevance, I think LinkedIn has a tremendous opportunity to stand out from other things that you may be experiencing with other vehicles. One thing is, how do you actually connect with people? And somebody mentioned about data, and that's one thing that is tremendously powerful within the LinkedIn. People heard about big data. Heard that comment? Yes? No? Did I lose everybody? Big data is a powerful force that is going to impact marketers, impact the world on understanding what people are doing and gaining insights, as the gentleman said up here, on what you can do to connect with these people. So if you think about it, when people are on LinkedIn, they provide you with a lot of information, and you have the opportunity to tap into things down the right-hand side to make your message more relevant. So instead of just sending out a blank or a blind branding message, you can actually pick this towards people that are useful to help you. And we'll show an example of somebody like Cathay Pacific, and United Emirates did something similar, where they picked certain areas to start influencing the purchasing decision of senior leaders that drove back to the travel agent or their company and had a huge uptick on what they could see through first picking profession, right? So they focused on people traveling a lot, sales as executives, VPs. And then industries, they knew the ones that they could influence the most. And also, then they focused on GTA, but also a theming of picking on groups, as I mentioned, communities that are influential to what their brand is trying to communicate. And what it comes down to for us is what we believe is relationships matter, right? One of our underlying values as LinkedIn is how do you bring this together? And there's a couple ones here, a Nielsen study recently, and also one I was reading that is interesting to think about is the Edelman barometer. The uptick in change from 2011 to 2012 from peers or people like yourself and individuals at a company for their influence on the brand is super important. So think about when you're guiding your customers or doing it for yourself, it's not only about the brand, but it's also about taking advantage of the people at the company to do that, because these people are super influential to others. It's not just about, it's the word of mouth, right? That's what ends up driving it. And how are they connected? So a way you can do some of that is through a follower ecosystem that we've built. But I'm going to talk to you about a little bit of that. What we've seen is that on average, people are looking to follow companies and brands. But we also understand that there's a limit to how many they will follow. So the people that are the first movers will gain benefits that others do not. And that, I would hazard to guess that this carries across not just on LinkedIn, but other platforms like Facebook and so forth. That getting that follower community and connecting with them, the first movers will win that game. And because people don't want to change after they've done it. They want to stay there. They don't want to keep iterating and changing brands. They want to connect with the brand. And they want to hear about things. They want to hear, it's surprising, a lot of people think they don't want to hear, but 45% of them want to hear stuff from them weekly. And what is it about? About topics, right? Different topics like that are relevant to them, of specials or whatever, product offers, corporate things of that nature. So within, just like everybody's probably used to here with, I saw all the Twitter names, obviously within LinkedIn you have something similar, right? With the status update. For those that have used it, obviously can connect it to your Twitter feed as well. But people are watching that and driving them to different areas. Homepages, driving it to individual, maybe your CEO or so forth profile, driving it, utilizing it through mobile, driving people to your websites. So we're seeing as people are searching on the website front, people are actually coming into social media sites and then driving out to individual brand websites for more information. But they're also looking at people that they know that are connected to this. So be relevant on what you're doing, because that's what actually drives the adoption of this. Not just saying, oh, this is the brand, buy it, but actually what is important. And there's a bunch of stats up there on different things people have indicated are important. Job changes, company news, different brand things, products, so forth. And what people are ultimately doing is getting followers, right? So getting recommendations. This is, again, I've carried Johnny Walker through this a little bit, but they've taken from that site to now have people following them and being able to commit to them, building the relationship with these individuals so they can do that at scale, and now also leveraging the people they know to get others into the brand as well. So the last one is, before I open up for the floor for some questions, is custom groups. So I said at the beginning that there's an opportunity to participate in groups that are out there, but there's also the opportunity for you to create your own and manage that whole experience for them. We talked about user experience. I agree with the comment earlier that user experience is going to be super important. And you can have groups that are doing it, but you can also control it yourself and manage the experience for your people within the brand that you want to attract. So reputation, relevance, and relationships, and I think there's an opportunity that is out there today for you to leverage all three of those with the people you're speaking with and the people you're advising, and also the companies that your brands are delivering today. So I'm going to open the floor for questions if people have them.
Thanks, Brian. That was interesting. I'm Geneviève Passelier from McGill. I've been talking with a lot of small organizations, and of course they go on LinkedIn now. But for them, when in many cases they have only like one person in their marketing department, it's really hard to justify putting in more resources because we're talking about a lot of content management and updates and so on and so forth. Do you have any data or anecdotes about the return on investment that they can get out of, putting those resources in the content?
When you're saying the content is status updates and so forth of that nature, or building it, right? Okay. There's, I think a large part of it is coming down to the follower ecosystem that I mentioned earlier, and it seems to be paying out over time. So the initial uptake is more about engaging with the company and the brand, and then creating the viral ecosystem that goes around it. We're actually seeing a tremendous uptake in people that have joined that actually are bringing others to, may it be a group or so forth. I'd like to also adjust the question slightly in that the amount of effort to it is actually relatively small. You can make it quite large if you so desire, but you can get a quick win very easily with very little work. So the ROI then is very simple to get with a couple ones. Now, again, my guidance would be in a B2B format. Rather, some brands it's not the right exact spot for them, but decision makers that are there and are professionals that if your brand is targeted at professionals, engaging with them, this is a great platform to do so.
Hello?
Yes,
Hi.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about, you were talking about people who want weekly and daily updates when they join a group or a company. My question is, do you have any data on how people actually click through in these groups and in these company updates? Because I've joined a lot of companies and I have a lot of groups and I get a ton of email, and I'll be honest, I delete maybe 80% of them. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to know what the data is, and if there's a way for us, as people who create these pages, if there's any way for us to attain this data.
Sure. It's a very broad question, obviously, because a large portion of that, it depends on the company and the audience, right? So we have a broad range. There are definitely some that are connecting with a large number of groups. I think part of it is you've got a lot coming to you, so it's less relevant. But when you find the relevancy, the click-through rate's very high. I don't have the specific numbers, but I've watched the trend on that. And again, that's where the follower ecosystem was coming through with the 2.5 times a week. That was a request, actually. People are absorbing that and engaging with it, and then sharing it. There's a viral part that's happening quite aggressively across the ecosystem as well.
Hi, you mentioned that you set up company pages.
Yep.
How does one go about requesting that?
Sure. So there's two parts to the company page, just so if I wasn't clear. One is we create a company page for anybody that joins the system and indicates that they work at XYZ company. So automatically we create a company page that is attached to that. So probably everybody here's company, we've created a company page for already. Fill that in with very small data or whatever information we have that's aggregated through the internet. Now, taking control of the company page, there's two things. One is you can request control if you have an email address that's attached to that company and nobody else has control over the heading, so you can change the copy on the top. Or secondly, you can expand it dramatically through contacting, you can reach out to myself or one of my employees that can help you figure out how to get a paid one, like the Johnny Walker one that I was showing or some of the other ones.
So when we search, wouldn't the simple one that you've set up show up?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So if you can search on a company page, and if it'll be there already.
Okay.
Wonderful. Any last questions there? No? Just before I...
Brian, excellent. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Very nicely done.
Appreciate it.
These T-shirts aren't for you.
No. Come on. What? Can I help you throw them out?
Okay, now.